Hey, Marc, Millan here. Thank you for letting me be a part of your day. And today's leadership topic is about creating culture. Creating culture. Now, there's this story about a basketball coach. Maybe you've heard of him. His name is John Wooten. John Wooten is probably the most successful or celebrated basketball coach in college basketball. He had well over 10 years of successful championships, and he created a system in which year after year, even with players leaving and new players coming in, they continue to generate success for a long period of time, over a decade. And you could look him up. But one of the things that I found very interesting about John Wooten was the story about socks. So, follow me here. John Wooten, every time new players would come into the team, he would actually teach everyone how to put on their socks. Okay, for basketball players, you know there's a lot of running involved. There's a lot of turning, there's pivoting, there's jumping. And so your feet take on an incredible amount of stress and activity to play the sport very, very well. So John Wooten had discovered that many players would either suffer ankle injuries, foot contusions, or blisters, or cuts, or abrasions on their feet. And after studying and researching, he discovered that most of it was tied to their socks. How the sock was put on the foot, and because it was either loose or had a fold in it or had some sort of crease that was rubbing up against a part of the foot, all those things combined with all the energy and motion of moving and running created all these extra problems. So if a player had a cut on their foot, or they got a blister, or they try to land on their foot, and for whatever reason there was discomfort, they didn't land right and they fell over, all these things put a player unable to play in the game. He discovered that most of that was tied to socks. So every time players would come into the team, he would teach them how to lay out their socks, how to properly put on the sock 1 foot at a time. Now, you might think this is crazy, but actually John Wooten did this. Most of the time he did it himself. He wanted to be the one teaching this because he knew that in order for us to win, players had to play well. And if players were going to play well, they had to be healthy. And if they were going to be healthy, that means they had to play long periods of time. If they were going to play for long periods of time, that means they didn't need any problems with their feet, which meant that their socks had to be put on well. Now, isn't that something? What John Wooten was doing, he was creating culture. He had a culture of winning. He had a team that knew how to win. But if you were going to come onto his team, he had to make one thing very, very clear. In order for you to be on my team, I need you to learn how to put on socks. So let's talk about creating culture. Love that story. Hope it stays with you for a long time. Creating culture is about combining ideas and values that you find important to you that help accomplish the vision. Now, the vision and the mission of a team are the things that they have to do or get done. I would say that the culture or the set of values is how they are going to get those things done, right? So we might have these list of things, but how we go about doing those things is our behavioral environment, right? The atmosphere in which we work together and we get things done. So a list of values makes it very, very clear on the environment in which you want to create. Everybody has this. I have it in my home. I have a certain way that I want my kids to behave when we're home, right? When we go in public, those sort of things. We see it in sports teams. We see it in restaurants. We experience it when we go to Chick-fil-A. We experience it when we go to Walt Disney World, when we get on an airline. Those are the cultural values that we experience. So I want to give you 3 things when you're creating culture. It's also very important, before I give you these 3 things, it's also very important to remember that without culture, your strategy, your vision is going to suffer. Peter Drucker once said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And what he was saying is you could have a great list of things to do that everybody believes should be done. But if the culture is toxic, if people don't know how to behave with one another, if they don't know how to respect one another while they're getting those things done, what you have is a lot of conflict and a lot of relational fighting and distrust And when you have that, basically everything you're going to do suffers. So culture is very, very important. So here's 3 things that I would say in creating culture. Number 1, list the values. Number 1, list the values. Jot down, I would say 3 to 5, maybe 3 to 6 maximum important values to you that create a positive environment for the team to interact with one another. These are the things that you personally believe are the key foundational things that make your team work well together. Again, it's not just about getting the work done, it's about how we work together. And I would encourage you to go beyond just a word. Don't just say something like unity. If you use the word unity, then write a sentence or 2 that explains what that looks like when the team is working in unity. So I would say write the list down, create those, make a couple of sentences. So that's number 1, create the list. Number 2, I would say communicate and teach. Communicate and teach these values. So important for them to know what it means to you, your personal experiences, why you believe these are the things that make our team special and unique. Your culture should be something so incredible that it attracts people to it, or it lets people know, you know what, I don't want to be a part of that. Culture can be so strong that it gives you the right people and it kind of deviates the people who would otherwise create tension and problems for your team. So that would be number 2, communicate and teach. And then number 3, celebrate the culture. This one's huge. Celebrate the culture. Oftentimes, what gets celebrated gets repeated. And so if you see someone working in unity and getting things done in unity, then you want to celebrate that. You want to bring that to the attention of everyone on the team. Jesus did this all the time with the disciples. When he saw things that represented the kingdom in the Father's heart, he always gathered his disciples to bring attention to those things because he was trying to teach them what it was to be his follower. So a culture, you're trying to teach them. Again, it's this abstract environment that we get to work in, but we want it to become part of how people think and behave. So celebrate the culture when you see it and bring great attention to it. And I'll give you one more bonus before we close. If you have a team member who's not living out the culture, I would say it's one of those 3 things. Number 1, maybe they don't know what the culture is, so they need to be told. Number 2, maybe they haven't been taught. Maybe they're not clear on what the behaviors are. They need more explanation. That's the vision casting. That I would say it could be that too as well. And then number 3, I would say maybe there's a fear factor and you've just got to call that person up to what these values are by saying, hey, you're a part of the team. We want you to be on the team, but we're noticing that when you're dealing with this, you're behaving this way. And the way we do it here is like this. So you don't make it a judgment statement. You just say, hey, this is how we do it. And this is how I want everyone to do it. And I'm inviting you. You're a part of the team. So do it this way because this is the way we do it here. If ultimately they say, well, I want to do it this way, then at least you know and you've done your part to say, this is our team culture. And I want you to be on the team, but this is how we're going to do it. And you get to decide whether you want to be a part of that or not. And I think that's a great way to maintain your culture but still love a person. So I hope that helps you as well. That's all I got for you today. I hope it helps you create a great culture for your team and it helps you accomplish all that God's called you to do. From my heart to yours, until next time.